hopefully this actually picks itself up. I don't know if it will or not. Hopefully people can hear us. Hopefully this has gone live. I hope it
I
is.
am not seeing it on. Oh, here we go. It
Oh,
just popped up live. Here we
sweet.
go. We're
So
good.
we did it. We successfully did it.
I think. I
Yay!
think. I'm
Oh,
still waiting for video to show up on my end.
just kidding. Okay. I
It's
think it's
for me,
working.
it's the live picture, but I'm not sure. I might have to
Yeah,
close it out. You know how what YouTube is, where you have to refresh.
for
So let
sure.
me try refreshing it because that happened last time.
Hopefully you guys can hear both of us. Let us know if everything's good. Dom says we're good, so I think that
Okay,
means that
cool,
we're
cool.
good.
Yep, oh, yep, yep. Oh God, no, I
Oh,
hear myself.
oh, oh my gosh, the feedback. Oh, we're a bunch of true professionals. Listen, when Captain Jack's not here, it is just the Wild West. That's what we're doing in here.
Woo!
All right. So, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to the Trek Central live discussion. We do these every Sunday, post episodes of Picard, and we'll probably continue them on to the future of all the exciting things of Star Trek. But today we are here to talk about episode 3, which was really, really interesting and kind of bookended the first act, I would say, of the first season of Star Trek Picard. And it looks like we've engaged onto this amazing, exciting adventure across the quadrant. And Brie, I'm joined with today, the lovely Brie, who's one of our
Hello.
fantastic talents. Hello, on Trek Central. And I'm gonna throw it to you. What did you like? Did you enjoy? What was your feelings about episode 3 of Star Trek Picard?
I okay, so I loved episode 3. I actually think I want to put it above episode 2. Um, I
Oh,
yeah, I think it's above episode 2 for me. I still think episode 1 was I don't know, it's a competition for episode 1. But I like it because things are finally starting to come together. We've met all of the crew, well,
a
that
minus
we know
one
of.
ish. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. We've met Hugh, which I was really excited about.
yeah.
That whole sequence with the de-assimilated Romulans were I have so many questions on that sense. Like I
Yeah,
genuinely am
yeah.
it's there's a lot going on there that we don't know about that I'm really excited to find out about. It has left me hanging on so many points, and that's what I like. I like to question what's coming next.
Yeah, I agree with you. This episode was, I think that for me, this episode kind of tiered up above episode 2. And that's not
Mm-hmm.
to knock anything on episode 2. It was a
Mm-mm.
fine episode. It's just that
It was
that one.
world building. It was a lot of world building.
Right, right. That was again like obviously the smash hit of the premiere was just explosion, excitement.
Yeah.
And then the second one was a little bit more of a slower, like okay, like you said, world building. And now this one, they moved that needle, and that's why I said in my review where it's like most of the episode was kind of still world building, and then it jumps from 0 to 60 right at the end with that
Yep.
sequence between the fight sequence at the chateau, which was so awesome, and then of course this reveal, I guess, of Soji's connection to Ramda and the other Romulans.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Is
know.
it time travel? Is it I don't know. And then
Yeah,
yeah, like that's one of my bigger questions is it time travel related or is it something that because she said I know you from tomorrow, but is it true time travel or is it going to be something weird Borgy nonsense where
yes,
it gets a little bit wishy-washy on whether it's true time travel or not?
right. Yeah, it's. I hope we don't go with a traditional time travel.
I don't
I
want a traditional time travel either. That's why I'm hoping for that weirder wishy-washy.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of hoping for. I one of my working theories in my mind is that because Daj and Soji didn't appear on paper until about 3 years prior to the events of the show, that they were up to something perhaps
Mhm.
before, and we are gonna find out what that is, and maybe that's like the tomorrow version of that. I don't know. It's interesting. There's honestly, I tried really hard to kind of come up with good theories as to what the hell is going on with Ramda and the cards and
Yeah.
her and the green badge, and all that stuff. And
See,
I'm
and
drawing a blank. I'm drawing a blank.
I've watched the episode 3 or 4 times, and I haven't watched it since finding out that the badge flashed and I missed it. Like I know now, having seen everyone talk about it, that it flashed during that exchange.
Hmm.
But the fact that I missed it, however many times I watched it 3 or 4 times, I don't know what else I'm paying attention to. I'm looking at like all this other background stuff, trying
Yeah.
to catch that I'm missing things kind of like in front of my face sometimes. But Yeah,
That's one of the best things about this show, in my opinion, is the rewatchability of each episode so far has been
yeah.
really good because
That's
there's been a lot of stuff, especially the first episode, but even the second one where Picard and Laris are in Daj's apartment and they're doing
yeah.
their time to hack, and they're hacking away, and
CSI Star Trek.
right, exactly. And I'm like, wait, you're doing what? And packets and all this other stuff. And I'm like, all right, I got to rewatch the sequence again to kind of catch it all. And it's good. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that. I like it quite a bit there. So let's go down from the top. Obviously, we'll kind of break it apart. The first kind of grouping of events that took place in this episode was the introduction and connection to Raffi. We get to meet. We kind of knew her from the Countdown comic. For those of you that have not read it, Raffi was the security chief slash first officer aboard the USS Verity that Picard was using to help with the evacuation of Romulus. That's what's going on in the Countdown comic. That's where he meets Jabon and Laris for the first time. But obviously, from their interaction there to where we are in the episode is wildly different. But what did you think about the character of Raffi? What did you think?
So I really liked her. I do have one question in
Sure.
that sequence because when you brought it up, it actually came to my mind is at the end of the sequence when she says, you tender your resignation, my ass gets fired. I don't see where she would have been fired from what it is that we know from that flashback, and that's why I'm so kind of little
Mm-hmm.
like, is there like that was when you said it, it kind of brought it to mind that was one of the things I kept meaning to like mention is I don't understand how Picard, unless they knew that she was in on it somehow, like that could be it. Because I know that she came back out and she's like, did you say this? Did you say
Yeah.
that? Kind of like she prepped him for it. So unless they found out about that, that's where I'm confused as to why she would get fired over something Picard did.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. I think that the way I interpreted it is because she said a line about how it was like a decade or something like that of her life just sliding down into the slump. So the way
Right.
I took it was her being fired, which I'm not even quite sure what that really means, but her being fired, I assume from her position on the Verity, put a black mark on her record, and then she just spun out after that, and she just didn't take that firing well. And then even though she
Yeah.
probably had opportunities to still succeed, it probably didn't work out for her, and then she just wound up becoming essentially someone who's codependent on what appears to be alcohol and some type of drug as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, but what did you think of her as their interaction, and her as a
I
character?
liked it. I thought she definitely was a different character in the first sequence than what we see in the rest of the show. And like you said, she's going down this slide, but you know, it is a stark contrast. I mean, she still has this, go-getter kind of abrupt personality, but she's not so depressed, I guess is a good way to put it. So I want to know what happened in between because I also want to know more about their relationship on the Verity. Like
Yes.
I do want to see more about that because that little exchange where they do seem like these close friends, like the closest they seem really close and I like that relationship. Almost it's a very different relationship than what he had with Riker, for instance.
Right, which
They
is,
just seem
yeah,
comfortable around each other. That's a good way
right.
to put it.
They
They're
do.
comfortable around each other.
They do. And what's interesting is I haven't seen too much backlash about her calling him JL online. But for me,
Mm-mm.
as someone who read the comics, like she was calling him that in the comics. So I already had time to acclimate to that concept a bit. But I assume that some people probably were taken aback a little bit by her calling him that. But you're right to say, like, their interaction for whatever reason is way more personable than that of which him and Riker's kind of connection was. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that may have been a little bit of Picard maybe maturing and connecting with her, not just necessarily her character, but obviously the two of them getting together led to a very personal, kind of close relationship. I don't think, and I saw a little bit of this in comments, like a very few, but I don't think it's romantic in any way.
No,
I didn't
I
get
don't think
that.
so either. It doesn't feel like that. In fact, I think, and I don't want this to be the case, and I'm also skipping forward in the episode quite a bit, but when when he walks up to her and she's like, I lost my security clearance, I lost, and then doesn't say what she lost. If you like going back to Next Generation with wow, well with I can't remember his name, but Beverly's husband, where he was kind of the reason for Beverly's husband dying, whose name I cannot remember, saved
Oh,
my life.
Jack Crusher, I
Thank
think
you,
it is.
Jack.
Is it
Thank
Jack
you. I was
Crusher?
like,
Oh, I don't
yeah.
know. I'm kind of pulling that one out. I don't know.
Yeah. I think
Yeah, I
no,
know who you
I'm
mean.
almost no, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure it is it's Jack Crusher, I believe. I think you're right. But anyway, that he was the cause of him passing away. And so I don't want it to be an exact carbon copy of that. But she does stop when she says, I lost my security clearance, I lost, and then she chokes up even more. So like
Yeah. Yeah, it's yeah, I'm curious to find out more about that storyline between, and we'll
yeah,
probably
I
get like some extended books or something about her, but I want to know more about how she went from just being fired from the Verity to someone who's kind of in a bit of a paranoid state, living like a hermit out in the middle of Vasquez Rocks, and who's drug and alcohol dependent. Like, how does somebody get there, especially in the
yeah.
future? Like, how does that work? I thought it was a great. I mentioned this in my review. Like, I thought it was a great contemporary commentary. I say that 5 times fast of the opioid crisis that we're dealing with,
Mm-hmm.
on Earth, like right now, present day. And I
Yeah.
thought it was. I am curious and excited to see how, because I believe this is Star Trek, and I think that they're still going to have like that positive note. So I think she'll get out of that slump at some point. But
Mm-hmm.
I want to see that character arc, because I think that's going to resonate with people that are going through that kind of lifestyle and maybe want to identify with a character like that. So I'm excited to
Yeah.
see that. So, all right, so let's slide over into the other. We'll kind of leave all the discussion for Ramda and the Borgs towards the end, because that's where all the theory
Mm-hmm.
crafting, I think, is going to kind of come into play. So the other big character we met this episode was obviously Captain Rios, this rough and tumble kind of swashbuckler loner type guy who's got a troubled past, and he smokes cigars and he's bleeding and he's throwing tequila on his wounds and stuff. And
Yeah.
and what did you think of Rios? What did you think of him and his ship? What did you think of both of
I
those
love the
things?
ship, and I know we've brought it up before that it has like a very slight Normandy vibe,
It
which
does.
the biggest Mass Effect fan. It's up there. It's my favorite game series, but I'm saying like it's up there as one of my biggest fandoms of all time. So like I really like that style. It's sleek looking, and it's a very different style of any ship that we've seen as like commanded in Star Trek before, which is cool. And then I do like the character. I like the fact that it seems like he's almost putting up a front. Like when Picard meets him, he's like this rough, tough, like, you know, for rip this out of my shoulder, or like
Right.
smoking a cigar. Yeah, but when it's him talking to the ENH when he's doing the Irish
He's
ish
doing an accent. He's doing
accent, that's
something.
my only,
He's
and I
yeah.
hate to say that that's my only complaint with the episode, but I have to say it. But it just oh, oh yeah, it just anyway, when
Yeah.
he was doing that character,
Yes. Yeah.
you could see how uh deflated and broken he was, and it's almost like he's definitely putting up a front. He did say to the ENH like he lost his previous captain in
Mm-hmm.
obviously a very gory way. So that's definitely going to be hitting on PTSD. But that front, I think, is going to be something just like you said with Rafi. It's going to be something familiar to a lot of people, especially people that are like veterans. So
Right.
I really like the whole. He seems like this happy, like rough, tough guy when he's in front of Picard, like swashbuckling esque.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a different person when he's alone. And so I really want to see that character arc as much as I want to see the Rafi and Picard arc. Like it's everyone has these really amazing arcs that I'm excited for.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited to see his story arc kind of play out. I think the way it's set up right now is a little. It's kind of a trope in some regards. The rough and tumble
Mm-hmm.
swashbuckler's got the troubled past and with authority, but he
Mm-hmm.
still yearns for it in some regards. Still wants that unity, still wants that family. I think that's what we're going to get at the end
Yeah.
here. Is he's going to connect to everybody as his crew family, but at the same time, though, this just because it's been done before doesn't mean it can't be good and enjoyable to watch.
Right.
And I loved it. When he showed up with the cigar and he was lighting it up, and I was like, this guy is not Star Trek at all in a good way, like, and not in
Yeah.
like a they don't know what they're doing kind of thing. It was like this guy is so out there with his cigars and his bleeding, and he's got his crazy holograms that are him, which I love. That
I
such a
love
genius
that. I
idea.
really do. And I think that's probably why I'm not going to be bothered in the future because I think it's just going to be explained that it's him created, like he created these and is just doing it because he's maybe not that great at accents. But well, yeah,
Right.
I'm just gonna put that in my head canon to make it make sense.
Well, maybe for all we know, somebody could draw attention to it and be like, "What accent is he using?" And he be
Yeah.
like, "I'm not perfect. I
And
don't know
then
how to
he'll be
do
like,
an
yeah,
Irish accent."
it's not my forte or something.
Right,
Like,
right, exactly. I look forward to the comedic elements of people addressing the fact that all of the holograms on his ship
different
are just
accents.
are him with different
And I
accents.
like that.
Yeah.
I like that. It's really funny.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited to kind of get to know him a little bit. He had the actor. He did a fantastic job. He obviously only had a few sequences there, but I liked the discussion he had with the ENH, because when he was talking about his captain's brains splattered all over the bulkhead or whatever it was, it immediately triggered a memory of the Battle of Sector 001 for me, which was in the beginning of First Contact, where the Borg attack Earth. And, obviously we're moving along with the storyline, so immediately the Enterprise E jumps into the temporal wormhole and just goes off to the adventure with Cochrane. But you got to think of all those ships, and I guess also Wolf 359 in any big fight, but this is what it reminded me of was that, like, how are people like reacting after the fight where their friends that they were just having breakfast with, blood is all over the place? How do they deal with that? I like it. I like the fact that it's getting more serious with that. I appreciate that. It's very realistic, because it is serious. Like, you're in space getting shot at, it's pretty serious stuff. So I liked it. I'm excited to see how they kind of expand on that kind of almost PTSD element to it in some regards. But his ship, I agree. It definitely has a Normandy feel, very almost Firefly almost feel to it.
Firefly is chonky, but
it is chonky. Listen, don't talk about her like that. Okay?
I love her though.
Yeah.
No, don't get me wrong. I love Firefly. But
yeah, she's a little chonky. I know she's a little thick, but I like how it's I like the coloring, and I like how it's very like, it's futuristic in its design, and it's unlike anything we've ever seen before, and as it should be, because this isn't a Starfleet ship. It's not a race. It's not Klingon. It's not Romulan. It's just a ship that exists. So of course they would have cool looking ships out there. I mean, why wouldn't they?
I mean, we have hot rod cars. I mean, you're not going to be riding around in a white work van.
Right, exactly. And just because the Federation, which is like the military-esque version of the future, they're producing these military-style exploration vessels, like mass-producing these ships. But just because the U.S. Navy now, has these amazing warships, that doesn't mean people can't go off and buy really sleek-ass speedboats,
Right.
Which is essentially what this is. It's this cool other ship. It still is like a similar thing. I liked it. I can't wait to see it more. So... yeah, I'm very pumped for that. So, all right. So, we're moving right along. We met them. Let's jump into, I would say, we'll leave the other two things. I know you know what the scenes I'm talking about. We'll leave those things towards the end. The other kind of thing that happened in this episode that was big was the fight sequence at the Chateau.
I loved that so much. Well, one, like I also... Dom said it too. I was worried that they were gonna die because, like he said, there's just a reason for him to not have to stay. But I also in my mind didn't think they would do that, because I just really don't think they would have done that. But at the same time, they have done it in the past, so I wouldn't have been too surprised had it happened, but I'm very happy it didn't, because it was amazing to see them absolutely kick ass.
Yes.
And like, I mean, because you got to remember, they're ex-Tashiar agents. Like, they're trained, they're gonna kick ass.
Yeah.
So it was really awesome to see them actually do that instead of just tending to Picard. And that's, again, just adds credence to me wanting a Laris and Jaban show where they just go kick ass as Tal Shiar. Like, I want that now. Please give it to me, Star Trek.
Yeah, I like that. That's the new standard for Trekkies, is when they make a whole show.
There's a good character. Now give me a whole show.
Give me a whole show about that character. Do it.
One or two characters. Do it right now.
Yeah, that's
it. I will put money down.
Yeah, I think that I said this before. Like, those two, we don't really know the crew yet all that well, so my opinion will probably change. But as of right now, in the first 3 episodes, those two are easily my favorite new characters that they've brought into the franchise. They have so much personality, and I was on the edge of my seat, so worried that they were going to kill
Yeah,
Jaban in
I
that.
lean forward in fight scenes in this show. I like do one of these where I sit forward and like get myself composed and ready because now that episode after episode one where Dodge just straight up dies, I'm sitting here like, is someone else gonna die? I have to like
Right.
prepare myself and like get ready. And so I was very worried, but I'm really happy it didn't happen because it would have been really heartbreaking to watch that go down.
Oh yeah, yes, yes, and I'm so glad that they. I agree with you. I'm so glad that they did not go that route.
Yeah.
And it worked, because it was cool. I loved the fact that they had friggin' Romulan disruptors hidden all over the house. That
Yeah,
was
that was
so cool.
it. I said this, and I don't know if anyone else has said this, but it gave me such a Mr. and Mrs. Smith, right?
Yep, yep, you got
Mr.
it
and
right.
Mrs. Smith. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith vibe, where they like finally realize who each other are and they're like going around in the house they've hidden in different locations. And I was just like, this is so great. Like I'm just getting that vibe that
Hmm.
they were definitely ex secret agents. So
Yes, for sure, and it definitely showed. And it
I don't know if
was.
mine is it freezing on. I was gonna say my screen keeps freezing. I don't know if it's freezing on your guys' end.
It's not happening on mine, but I'm running the
Okay.
stream, so I'm a terrible judge of that. So hopefully not.
But yeah,
It's yeah, the fighting, I liked it because I haven't seen anybody say this, but I was worried that people were going to complain that Picard didn't do too much during the fight in comparison to Larissa and Jaban. But in my
I
opinion,
mean
they're
he's
the trained operatives. He's a captain
yeah
of. He's
he's the
not a right. He's not a hand-to-hand
yeah.
combat expert. So
Also, he does have age on him, which we can't ignore. I mean, they even point it out often in the show. I mean, they show him getting winded. It's not just it's like they're drawing attention to it a little bit. Like every time, the stairs scene and he's like, wait for me. And then when he has to go catch up with Rafi in episode 3, he's like doing the same thing.
yeah.
So it's another thing you have people have to take into account. So I really like I would have been more shocked if he was out there kicking ass. Like he still did. I mean, he grabbed the disruptor that he had hidden and killed two what was it? I think two yeah, two Jat Vash, I'm guessing.
I think two. Yeah, yeah, two Zot
And I'm
Jot Vosh.
guessing
I
that
think
they're
that they
Jat
are.
Vash. Like that's my that yeah, at this point.
Yeah, it's I was the other thing that I was kind of stressed about, and I don't know if you thought about this, but I was worried that number one was going to jump into the fight, and that number one was going to be the one that got hurt or killed, and I was a
About
little
that,
stressed about that
but
too.
now that you say it, I'm really upset. I'm glad that I didn't think of that because I would have tapped out there and been like, nope, sorry.
Yeah, I think it would have been a little
No
bit of an
dead dogs,
overstep.
please.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's a little
Please
bold
don't
to
do
kill the
that.
dog. Yeah,
You
yeah.
can kill all the people you need to in the show. Just don't touch the dog, please. Please don't touch him.
Yes, I agree. I agree 100%. So, all right, so let's kind of get into the two big, I guess you could say, things that kind of occurred in the episode, which
Mhm.
was the situation with Dr. Girardi, and obviously the focus on Ramda, who was the reclaimed Borg Romulan, and her conversation and that whole sequence that unfolded with Soji and Hugh. So, looking at
Mhm.
Dr. Girardi, I think you and I are on the same page here. But go ahead,
Yeah.
I'll give you the floor to go ahead and throw out your theory that you're
All
working
right.
with right now.
All right. Yeah. So as soon as the episode happened, I actually messaged Dom, and I was like, I love Dr. Girardi, but I'm pretty sure she's unwittingly under the control of command of Commodore O. And he was like, there's no way. And I was like, no, if you go back and you watch the trailer episode, which I know you noticed too, if you watch the trailer from before the show aired, she gets what we thought was a mind meld
Mm-hmm.
from someone in the exact same park bench in the exact same place as where her and Commodore O had their interaction. And we are at this point assuming she's Romulan. In fact, I even saw someone bring up the point that in Enterprise, uh, T'Pol even says, Vulcans don't need sunglasses because of their eyelids.
Mm-hmm.
So why then would a Vulcan need sunglasses? Again, now I'm starting to think a lot more that she is Romulan.
Right.
And with opera music in the background, something bad's going to happen. You don't put opera music in a show that's like with that much suspense if nothing's going to happen. So I am, and then she comes in with a gun after everyone's already dead inside the building. She has a Romulan disruptor and saves Picard last second. And also, it's the middle of the night, mind you. I'm assuming. I mean, it's dark out. Uh, and then, and she, like right after her exchange with Commodore O,
Hmm.
it's so convenient now that I'm pretty sure that she is under some kind of control of Commodore O, because I mean, as closely related as Vulcans and Romulans are, one would assume that Romulans have some form of telepathy of some kind.
Yeah,
And
it's
they even
possible.
kind of hinted at it in episode 2 when she was like, don't play dumb with me as to why I know something this person didn't say. So that just makes me think even more. And then it makes me like, when I first saw the scene in the trailers with Rafi saying, "Oh no, you're just gonna let Dr. Girardi here hitch a ride on your mission," I was like, I don't really agree with that. But now, after seeing everything I've seen, I'm like, okay, Rafi's kind of right, because
Hmm.
I mean, they aren't. She is just hopping on this top secret mission that Commodore O even said she's going to keep an eye on Picard. How can she keep an eye on Picard if maybe having some sleeper agent basically on the ship? And so I really think that it's set up in a way that, as much as I love Dr. Girardi, I think she's an unwitting pawn
Yeah.
in Commodore O's scheme to screw with Picard. And I'm gonna get really heartbroken, but yes, I'm
I
thinking that's the case.
I don't think I agree. I agree with everything you're saying. I think that for sure Girardi has gone under some kind of an influence. I don't know if it's like she's being mind controlled. I don't know if during the mind meld she planted some kind of like a command in her mind or something like that. That would force her to do something at a certain
Mm-hmm.
point in time, or that would some kind of trigger would activate her in some regards. There's an air of mystery there, and to be fair, and as some people may get upset about the way that they're kind of utilizing the mind meld, but it does kind of it's not space magic, and we understand some regards to how the mind meld situation works, but there's always kind of like a little bit of a leeway. I think with the writers take with the mind meld,
Mm-hmm.
they kind of do a little bit of different things with it. So expanding on it, I don't think is wrong, and so I'm
No,
curious to see how they cut that out.
I
And I
mean, they expanded on it in Enterprise, where they made
right,
it so that, mind melds weren't a common thing. So they gave a
right.
little bit of more history there. So I have no opposition with adding to that kind of stuff. So
I
I
agree.
would like to
Yeah.
see that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. I think what's funny is people freaked out about the sunglasses that O is wearing,
Mm-hmm.
it blows my mind that I feel like some folks are just a little bit zeroed in on trying to ensure that they can find a problem with the
Something
show.
wrong. Yeah.
But it's like it looks cool, and she's trying to be
It's
secretive,
intimidating.
right? And she's trying to be
Yeah.
a secret agent, very spy thriller. But also, I feel like they're literally trying to tell us that because she is
She's
wearing the sunglasses, she's not Vulcan.
right. And
That's the
the
point.
thing, I don't, when I saw it, I don't think that the person pointed out who it was, but as soon as they said that, like, Star Trek lore, I think they said, like, in Star Trek lore, it's already been made canon that Vulcans have an eyelid that makes it so they don't need sunglasses. And then
Yeah.
as soon as they said that, I was like, oh yeah, it was from the Forge episode when Archer and T'Pol
Yep.
were out on the Forge, and he offered her sunglasses, and she's like, oh, we don't need them.
Right.
So, and so that again, she's not Vulcan. She's definitely not Vulcan.
Right. I think
Now,
that's
like with everything going on.
right. I don't know. I figured that out immediately. I don't know why people are struggling to kind of get to that point, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think for sure Girardi is under the influence. I think that I would go as far as to say that the fight and the attack on the chateau
Was
was
staged
staged.
so that and that's kind of what I was thinking
Yeah.
too. It was staged so that she could come in, and she even says, I killed a man to save you, like that. You need to take me. Like,
Right.
seemed so perfectly set up that it's she can't be who she was before. Like, she didn't have. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're on the right track there, and I
Yeah.
really think she's going to end up becoming some kind of sleeper agent. As much as I love her and I don't want that to happen, I can see that being the case.
I think she'll have redemption though. I don't think
I
it's
think
going to
so too. I
be
don't think they're going
yeah.
to make it so that, she's just like, I think they'll have a way to revert it, fix it, or get her out of it, because I don't think it would be. I think they would have some complaints if they just kept her or disposed of her, I guess.
For sure. I don't think that they will because she's a very she's the hopeful youth, you know. She's the
Yeah.
one that's excited, and I remember at the end of this episode where Picard said engage and the other two kind of like rolled their eyes, but she
Hmm.
was like giddy excited on the bridge, like she was like having the time of her life. And I
Yeah.
don't think
And
that they
like
will, yeah.
her exchange with Rafi, she's like, "Oh, who are you, lady? This woman is gonna take my heart. She's so adorable."
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna be really like it's when it happens, it's gonna hurt, but I'm also on your side that I think that they're gonna do some kind of redemption.
I think so too, and they're going to have a Romulan on board. I mean, obviously, I think it's pretty
Hmm.
straightforward that Elnor. They're going to be doing the Elnor pickup in the next
Yep.
episode, so they're going to be
Which
getting
I'm
him
so excited for.
for sure. Me too, and so he'll be a Romulan that may be able to assist with his own mind meld to
Right.
try to undo the whatever it is that O did to her, whatever it is. I'm curious to see how that kind of plays out, but yeah, I think that's a. I think we're right on the money there. I think that the writers and the showrunners put all the elements in there for us as the audience to be, if you're paying attention, for us as the audience to be in the know, like we know there's something going on, but the characters don't know. So it's kind of cool because
Right.
we have information that the characters don't have, and it's
So
very
we can
that makes it
start piecing
exciting.
all this stuff together.
Right, right. So it's very exciting to see how they're going to figure it out and how it's going to unfold. So, all right. So let's get to the big one. This is
Yes.
the big topic of the day, which is what the hell was going on with Ramda, Soji, Hugh, and the reclaimed Borg. And so just set the stage for everybody that doesn't remember. Essentially, on the Borg Reclamation Cube, the director of the Reclamation Project turns out to be Hugh. He's in charge of this whole project, which is essentially seems to be kind of rehabilitating people who were former Borgs back into normal humans. He takes Soji to a room where former Romulans that were Borg are being kept, and they seem all sorts of crazy, whacked out. And then there we meet one of our new, I guess, exciting characters, who is Ramda, who's playing with some Romulan tarot cards. I'm going to go ahead and take a quick break here. So Amir Hadwan if says, thank you for the donation of $5, says, if Soji is actually Data's daughter and she is a destroyer, it would be a messed up legacy for Data, which I think they wouldn't allow. I would agree with that. I don't think they're going to go that route. I don't know. We'll get into that destroyer comment here during our theory piece. So I would say that you have Ramda there with her cards. She's being discussed and having a conversation with Soji. And then Soji starts gleaming all of this crazy information about her, who she is, the ship that she was on when she got caught by the Borg cube, that they were the last group of people to be assimilated by the cube. And then Ramda seems to recognize Soji, saying, I know you from tomorrow. And then she pulls out this tarot card with two sisters on it, says, which sister are you? Are you the one that lives or dies? And then, of course, follows that up with, you are the destroyer, and she tries to kill herself. So it goes from 0 to 60 pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So what are your theories about this? Where are you at with
So,
this?
do you remember in the last stream when you said that you thought maybe the Jat Vash made the Borg?
I do. I do
I
recall.
really think this could even make it stronger, and I'll tell you why. Because if the Romulans are the only race that, when they are assimilated by the Borg, have this weird, like, they can't express what it is that they knew from, like, they aren't the same as the other de-assimilated Borg. That makes me think there is some kind of, like they talked about mythology and stuff, some kind of information that they learn when they've been taken and join the collective that just kind of breaks them, like, the Romulans race created the Borg. Like,
Mm.
I when you, like, now that you have that theory in my head, like, I'm finding all these ways to connect it, and I, like, with the whole Romulans being the only ones that have this weird effect, there has to be some kind of connection between the Borg and the Romulans to cause that.
I agree, and I would actually go in another direction to say that there's something within the Romulan psyche or DNA or whatever it is that causes that was the reason that the collective disconnected that Borg cube. And the reason I say that is because Hugh throws out a line right as they're walking into the little room that he says, as far as I know, these are the only Romulans to have ever been assimilated. And I'm wondering if because that they were Romulans and they got assimilated, that act is what caused the collective to disconnect that cube and leave it to kind of just sit there aimlessly. But I don't know.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, you're right. Now that I'm thinking, because I was going to say the Romulans would have all been assimilated at different times, though, maybe. Because they said that what made Ramda special was that she was the most recent of them.
True.
So if that was the case, then wouldn't the first Vulcan have called, or Vulcan, first Romulan have caused that submatrix collapse? And if she was the most recent, so that's why I almost don't want to say that's the case because then unless they were all assimilated at the exact same time, but then they made it a point to say that she was special because she was the most recently assimilated by that cube.
Well, I don't know. I don't remember if they said that she was or if the ship was. I can't remember the line off the top of my
It
head.
was Rhonda, do you know what makes you special? You were the last something. I don't know if it was the last Romulan or the last
Person,
person
maybe. Okay.
assimilated by this Borg cube. And then she starts naming her ship, the ship that she was on. Um,
That's true. And then she says you were with like
Sorry,
20
I
other
was in
people.
theater for so long. Like when I watch things, it's almost like script memories get put in my brain.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's like forced into me now. I, but
No, I got you there. Yeah, so there's definitely something to do with Romulans being assimilated. There's definitely something there. And then what is the deal with
the
the Rhonda
cards.
recognizing
Oh yeah,
Soji? Like, what is the deal with that? What was going on there, do you think? I don't know.
I honestly, yeah, I don't know. I really don't. That's what I like. Like I said, it could be some wishy-washy version of time travel, or it could be a play on words where tomorrow maybe she's like trapped in a like where when someone has trauma and they like recess, so they like will relive the memory. So she could be thinking like tomorrow is in like the day that they were assimilated, and it's not actually our future, if that makes sense, because she's already a little like
She's wonky in the
not
mind.
yeah,
Yeah.
she's not something's not right with all of the Romulans that got
Right, right.
assimilated. Like something's screwed up. So that's why I was thinking like, that could be some like a way they could fix it, or it could be some wonky, or it could be hard time travel. But I don't want hard time travel. I want
I don't think it's going
wonky
to be
time
hard time
travel
travel.
or like a play on words kind of thing. But
Yeah, I think that they're playing with two phrases in that sequence. One, I don't think that when she says I know you from tomorrow, I don't think she's literally saying I know you from the future. I don't think
right,
that's the case. The other one that I think that they're kind of playing with a little bit is the concept of the destroyer. And in my opinion, I think that they're trying to distract us from the what the real plot is, which is her being like a Borg queen or something like that. That's going to reconnect the collective and do literal destruction. I think is a distraction from what the Zat Vash potentially would consider a destroyer would be, which is someone who could give life or birth a entire sentient android synthetic life,
right,
and that would be terrible to them. So I feel like
right.
they're maybe playing on that a little bit. What do you think?
No, that makes a lot of sense because both the people that said it were both Romulans.
Mm-hmm.
So one was an assimilated like a previously assimilated Romulan, and if she did know that information because of the case, and remember all the other ones started acting really weird when they realized like who she was, it kind of adds credence to the fact that if there is something to do with what, because again, the Jat Vash seem to know something no one else does, but now she seems to know something no one else does, and because of that connections that you had mentioned before, it also makes me think that everything's tying together to look towards that kind of story plot.
Yeah, no, it's very possible. I because the complexity of the story so far in just these first three episodes, I feel
It's
like
hard to make theories right now.
it's so hard to make theories because I feel like we have a couple of like strong guesses to things. Like we think, like we're pretty sure Bruce Maddox is going to show up. We're pretty sure that Commodore O
Yeah,
is the person that let the android attack occur. We're confident of a couple of other things, but beyond that, it's very,
up in the air.
very up in the air. Very, very, very
I
kind
like
of.
that though.
I do too. I feel like we as a fandom kind of guessed a lot of what was happening inside of Star Trek Discoveries, both one and two.
Mm.
And they really upped their game this time to weave a story that was not only good, but also in a way that the way that they're laying out the episodes, it's almost impossible at this point to guess the end game. And that's
Yeah.
great, I
It
think.
seems like they're like you have one main storyline and then it's changed, and then you think you have that one and then it's changed, or there's more than one. So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
I
yeah.
like it.
I like it too. I like it as well. I think it's so far turning out really great, and I'm excited to see how it unfolds. You know, we've obviously got still over, you know, we got 70% of the season left. You know, it feels like we've gotten so much already because every episode is so
Right.
dense. And they go by so quickly. You know, after the fight at the chateau, I kind of moused my pointer over the timestamp, and I noticed that it was almost over, and I was like, what is wrong with this
Yep.
show? What is going
It's,
on?
it's just, I mean, you can only imagine if they had dropped the whole thing, how deep everyone would have gotten that night. Because it's so good that you
Right.
can't, like, if there was another episode to watch. And that's the thing is, like, I ended up staying up ridiculously late the other night because one of my friends saw the first episode on YouTube because it was like in a recommended, and he was like, "Have you seen the new Picard?" And I'm like, "Who are you talking to, dude?" Like,
Right, right.
I've seen every episode of Picard like 4 to 6 times, depending on the episode now. So, and then so he was like, "Well, I want to see the rest of it," and I was like, "You got a really good friend to be asking that to." So we ended up. It was like midnight, so we watched the next 2 episodes.
Yeah.
And he was just like the whole time he was like, and I'm just
Right,
like,
right.
"Yeah, it's good, right?"
Right. I know. It's so good. So we got
So
two chats in here again from Amir Hadwan. Thank you again for your $5 donation. You say, "What do you think about the theory of possibly lore involvement since he was dismantled and sent to the Daystrom Institute as well?" And then we have another chat here from Lee Woods that says, "Is this show posted up as a podcast?" Lee, I'll answer your question. As of right now, the show is not being posted up as a podcast, but I appreciate your input, and that is definitely something we'll take back to the team to discuss to see if maybe that's a good idea moving forward in the future. And then back to Amir, your question about possible lore involvement. I am still currently of the belief that this whole concept that Daj and Soji were directly related to Data, I think is again a misdirection. I think it's going to be lore. They did it off of Maddox used lore to do it, not Data, because Data, even though Data's mind and his neurons were downloaded to B4, I think they're going to come up with something where Maddox says, I wasn't able to do it, but I was able to use lore, and now they're actually children of lore. That's just my theory. What do you think, Brie?
I I see that being the case. However, I don't want that to be what happens, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like I I like where things were left with lore, and I don't really want him it's not that I don't want him brought back, but I think doing it would be good writing, but I also don't want to see it, if that makes sense. Like I want as badly as I think a lot of other people them to be Data's daughters, but it also makes a lot of sense with the fact that Data was destroyed, at least to the like I thought completely.
Right, right.
That lore would be an easier option. So and people wouldn't really complain about dismantling and using him because no one wants to reassemble him and have him running around anymore.
Right, for sure.
Um,
Lore's going to
but
come up somehow. I don't think that
I
the
think he will
writers
come
have
up
forgotten.
somehow,
Yeah.
but I don't want it to be that they are his daughters. Like I think it would be nice. I don't know. I think it would again be good writing because then Picard's going off on this mission to do something that he doesn't even like it's not who he thinks they are,
Mm-hmm.
and so you know it would be good, and I'll probably change my mind when it happens and I'll be like, oh yeah, that was great, but
Yeah, yeah,
right
yeah.
now I'm like, no, I want them to be Data's daughters.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I agree. I want it to be Data's kids as well. It's just I'm trying to get on my critical thinking plot
Yeah,
twist cap and think like, okay, what's another twist they could throw at us that would blow our minds?
and it makes a lot of sense, and I agree it's something that could definitely be done and be done very well.
Yeah, they could do it. I mean, and for all we know, that we are only operating under the assumption that Daj and Soji are the only two because obviously they're the
Well,
twins, but there could be
they
more.
said they said where's the nest in episode two
Except,
or three.
did they say a
uh,
nest?
Yeah,
Was
they
it a
said
him?
it was the sister, and she said has the monstrosity given you the location of the nest yet?
That was two. Yeah, you're
And
right. Yeah.
yep, and
Yeah.
so that's why I'm almost sure they are not the only two. When they said nest, I was like, bam, there's a bunch of them. They're everywhere. Like there's
Picard's
a lot
one.
of yeah.
Yeah, it's it.
Like they're going to be everywhere, and they're like maybe not everywhere, but there's going to be a collection of them. Like there's not going to be just the two girls. Like they said nest, so that tells me there is a lot.
I
Or
would think so. And for all we know, they could be datas, and there could be other ones of lore or something else. There's a huge amount of question marks in this show.
sorry, if you ever
You know,
need quotes from the show, hit me
I
up.
got you. Yeah, you're hitting it like nobody's
I just
business.
have to look off to the side and remember for a second.
Yeah, seriously, you're great at it. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of questions that are kind of still we won't
Yep.
ever know until the season's over, which is great, and I cannot wait to find out kind of how we get there and what the true origins of Daj and Soji and what Bruce Maddox has
Right.
been up to and what all of this stuff really means. I can't wait to find out. I think it's going to be fantastic to kind of get through that story. So as we're kind of winding down on the live stream, chat, if you want to go ahead and start to get out some of your questions that you may want us to kind of discuss, whether they be show related or for Picard or anything relating to Star Trek in general, go ahead and get some of those out there in the discussion box so we can go ahead and start talking about that. The last thing I do want to talk to you about very briefly is
Oh, someone did say something. There's
oh,
five queens in Data's poker hand.
oh, Jay Cortese. Yes,
In
good
that dream in the
point.
first episode. I did not even
Okay.
think about that. So that would also make a lot of sense as foreshadowing. They're really good at foreshadowing.
They are, but it
I
was
will
just a
say that.
dream.
They are
Was it a vision or a
yeah.
dream? Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. That's a good point. There is five queens and we've only seen two, which would mean that maybe there's two or three more potentially out there. I love that. I definitely like that. That's a good idea there, show.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that idea. I saw that and I was like, wait a second.
So Hans H asks, "Do we actually know how the cube got to where it is?" No, we don't.
I see one I want to talk about.
Okay, gotcha. I'll this one here. So
No, go for that one. Sorry,
okay.
I just want to remember that one.
Gotcha. So no, we don't know how the cube got there. The big thing to note with it is it was clearly damaged, and it's from what from what we've been told from the show and from interviews and stuff like that, that it's in Romulan space. But that's what they're telling us. That may not necessarily be true or not. It's unclear. We haven't really gotten a star map yet of where it's located. But right now, it was damaged. It wound up in Romulan space. And for some reason, it tried to assimilate a couple of Romulans, and then right after that, it got disconnected from the collective, and then that's all we've got. So, what was your one?
Well, someone said the same question I actually asked you guys in chat a few days ago or during one of the what the heck is ear? And one of you guys said back like, "Oh, it's a Bluetooth or something." And I was like, cuz I thought it was some kind of earring. But then when you guys said Bluetooth and I was thinking about that, the his weird ass sister, that I hate that relationship. The way they act with each other makes me so uncomfortable. Like
You mean
I
it's
cannot
full
explain
on
it. It
Lannister
makes
level?
me
Like he's
yes, I
like,
was like, are they taking like
yeah, I'm gonna
hints
get it. Don't
from
worry.
Game of Thrones? Like
Yeah, it's so creepy.
it
Yeah,
made
yeah,
me
yeah,
just like
yeah.
evil siblings are so bad about that. But yeah, she knows everything. Like she seems to know everything that's gone on between his conversations with her. So I'm pretty sure that it's some kind of listening device. That you're right, it is like a Bluetooth of sort. But I think that's how he's getting information back to his sister and how she's finding all this stuff out. I
Yeah,
think that's their little communication device.
I think so too. I think a theory that I came up with, which I think is a bit more complex than just a Bluetooth talking thing, was that was something that he was using to change his physical appearance, because obviously they're doing that quite often. His sister did it. So I don't know if maybe they're using that to kind of like keep their physical appearance changed at all times. I don't know. That was just another kind of random idea, random thought on that one. RL asks, in episode 1, did Daja's orchid grow backwards? Yes, it did. Why it did that or what the significance of that was, I have no idea, but it definitely did and it looked cool, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why. So Robert Elsan asks, is Seven in the next episode? When do you think we're going to see
I
Seven?
So I was actually I think if I went back and watched the show or the trailers for the show, I would change my mind. But I know I had said before Chateau Picard, and that's where she ran into him. I don't think so. I think she's at one of the places they're going to. Free Cloud looks like there was like dice or something when she
Mm-hmm.
brought up the thing for Free Cloud, which makes me
Yeah.
think it's like a gambling area, like the Vegas of space is what I'm
I'm
imagining.
excited. Yeah.
I am
Yeah.
too, but I think that's actually where she's going to be, and it's going to be in Picard, wherever Picard's staying. She's going to have just been there. Like she's going to be like, "Oh, what are you doing out here, trying to save the galaxy?" And that's when we're going to run into her. But I don't know. I don't think we're getting to Freecland in the next episode. I think the next episode is going to be almost entirely surrounding uh,
Elnor.
Eleanor. Thank you.
Yeah.
And so I think maybe I want her to be in the next episode because I love Jerry Ryan so much and I just want to see Seven like really badly. But I think it's going to be at least 2 episodes. Whenever they get to Free Cloud is when I think that she's going to show up. I think
Okay.
she's going to be at Free Cloud.
So you're thinking probably 5. I think that the chat's
Yeah.
saying 5 as well. I would agree with that. I think that I think what they'll do, and they've been doing this pretty much every episode now, is they kind of stinger a character at the end, and then
Yep.
they do a whole episode about them kind of the following one. So I think potentially we'll get a stinger of her, maybe that line of "What the hell are you doing out here, Picard?" or something like that, where that's will be the kind of the end sequence of 4, and then 5 will get into the full 7 of 9 episode.
Mm-hmm.
That would be pretty fun. I guess, yeah, there's like big questions in my mind of like, when is 7 showing up for sure, and then when do the Rikers show up? Because I would have thought he would have went to visit them before
I
he left, but he's
I
gone.
think that's a flashback. I think it's a flashback.
What?
I think that it's because remember he in the flashback he's like I can't talk you or it's the very end of the episode like the finale of season 1 leading into season 2. But my initial thought is that it was a flashback to him saying goodbye to everyone and them saying like we can't talk you out of this because they do a lot of flashbacks. Like I think every single episode now has had a flashback
Yes,
sequence.
every episode. Yeah.
So that's why I really think that that's going to be a flashback sequence. If it's not a flashback sequence, then I think it's going to be a season finale kind of thing where they are going on a new mission because they now know their new reason. Like they figured out, put all the pieces together maybe, and know the whole story and can move on with that plot or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's either going to be a flashback or it's going to be towards the very, very, very end, maybe even the last episode.
That's interesting. I hadn't considered the concept of it being a flashback. I like that idea more than I like it being the end of the season.
I like that idea too,
Yeah.
but the fact that they've done so many flashback sequences, like there's a lot of them, it makes me think it is going to be a flashback because they
Yeah.
pepper it in with other story, like when they flash back to the investigating the house. It wasn't actually during that time.
Right.
And then in this episode, they flash back to Picard and Rafi. And so I really think it's set up like that.
I think you might be right. I definitely agree with you there. So Gabby in the chat here says, in the preview, 7 and Picard seem to be in the Chateau in France, so they have to get back to Earth at some point, which would allow Picard to also visit the Rikers. It's
I
interesting.
thought it was the chateau that's what I was saying when I was so convinced that she was going to show up in episode 3 because I was like, no, that's chateau.
Right.
I think it's at Free Cloud, and I think Free Cloud is how there's that whole Vegas-esque vibe of like maybe it's like a suite, like
It
they've
could be
got
a
that
suite.
those night glasses. So that's
Yeah.
why when I saw that and I realized that they've already left Earth. And now knowing she shoots, like we see, she shoots up a bar. So again, bars, Vegas, Free Cloud,
It's possible. Yeah.
rings on the wall.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's definitely an interesting thing because in the preview that came at the end of this episode, there was definitely some more. It looked like there was more sequences in what appeared to be the chateau, like the interior of his office/den area. But right to say like there was also a shot though of like birds glitching out. There was like a brief shot of like 2 birds flying. They were kind of like stuck in midair. So there could also be a holodeck situation where maybe he's
That's
in a
true.
holodeck version of the chateau and they haven't gone back yet, because I would be confused as to why they would go back to the chateau.
Right. Unless
this
it was
point.
like the very end of the show when they
Right.
were done doing what they thought they needed to do, got all the information, doing something else. So, but given that she shoots up a bar, I can't see that being the last episode because,
Yeah.
and there's so much other stuff involving her that I think
No, I agree.
we
There's
need her
again
soon.
more question marks. This whole show is question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, and
Yep.
it's great. I love it so much. So all right, so we're gonna go ahead and wrap up the stream now. Do you have any final words about this episode or what we're gonna be seeing for in the future?
I'm just really excited for the next episode. I really like where they left off, and I really am excited to meet Elnor. I've been waiting for him for a while, so I'm really excited to see that story. I know there's a lot of little sequences with him as like flashback sequences with him as a kid, so
Mm-hmm.
I think we're actually going to learn about him in the next episode more than maybe we've learned about some other characters, and I like that. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, me as well. I am excited to see him and then how they're going to weave in all these other Star Trek alums into the story.
Mhm.
And then I can't wait to actually for the big reveals. You know, I don't think we're ready yet for the big
Yeah,
reveals. I'm not
there's going to be
emotionally
some mind
ready.
blowing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be so exciting to see and be a part of. But I do want to thank you, Brie, for
Yeah.
hanging out with us. And again, for you guys and gals that don't know, Brie does have her. Well, I'll let you plug your Twitter if you'd like to go ahead.
Oh yeah, no,
Or
it's my name. It's Brie like the cheese, Brie. Beecher like the beech tree, not hanging out on a beach. But yeah, no, I can just make my name like yeah, Brie like the cheese, Beecher spelled like the tree. Yeah,
like the
makes
tree.
life
Yeah,
easy.
that's it. So yeah, you do. You have a Twitch, and you also have a Twitter account. And you're obviously one of our many talented, very talented, excuse me, voice actresses for the Trek Central channel, which you do fantastic work at. So we're so excited to have you on board to do all those fantastic videos there. And of course, I am Ketwolski. You can find me over at the Ketwolski YouTube channel, and I'm hanging out here with Trek Central right now, covering in for Captain Jack, who's just derelicting on his duties, just totally dodging his responsibility. No, I'm kidding. So we're just filling in for him today. I hope that you guys and gals in the live chats enjoyed this discussion. I appreciate all of you for swinging through and sharing your thoughts with us and kind of getting your questions out there. And hopefully we explained some of the episode to you if you guys were a little confused about it. But we appreciate you so much for hanging out with us, and we'll see all of you guys and gals next time.